This is Joe Dagger of Business 901. I had discussed the marketing calendar and putting the post-it notes in a certain order so that you could visualize what your marketing was going to be. One of the questions I received back was, what about the post-it notes? What's on them? What should you be putting on them? And one thing I mentioned this is that we start out here with a more empirical view of the thing, an overall view of the items. But one of the things that I've been taught in the agile field is that they like to start with their user story. And that's what I think that we should be heading to in marketing. If you would interview people and perform win-loss analysis is one thing. Many companies do that. I really like to go to an additional step. What if we would paint the picture of how a user will interpret this marketing campaign? Or for this matter, this blog, this advertisement, this white paper. If we would take the time to determine that reaction, would we not create a better product? In Scrum, work is expressed in the backlog as user stories. A team may write its user stories in a number of ways as long as they are written from the perspective of the end user. If you look at it, team members or individuals are encouraged to think of their work from the perspective of who will use it. And hence, that's the name of the user story. Mike Cohn is one of the leading authors of the Agile movement, and he developed a story template, which I display up here in the theme. And he identifies who the end user is, what the end user wants, and why in a single sentence. I'll use that for maybe a pretend customer of mine. Let's say it's a roofing contractor. And he says, as a roofing contractor, I would like to develop a 4-part mailing program targeting subdivisions of 20 to 24-year-old homes. That's what he would want me to accomplish for him. And that would be the desired outcome. We could even take it a step farther, and maybe we should look at it at the real end user and even the homeowner's view. What 4 pieces of mail would he value when it comes to determine whether he needs to replace a roof or not? If he owns a 24-year-old house, he's starting to think about it. So that would make a much stronger marketing campaign for, let's say, a direct mail piece or even a trade ad for a 2-step type trade ad. The other items that I think that you can put on your user story card here is a number of things depending upon what it is. You, of course, want to go ahead and have what the media is, what you're using, okay, the trade ad. You probably are going to want to put the vendor on there that you're going to use. The message, of course, is the theme that I wrote there from the user's perspective. And then I would put a budget. I would put the money down there, what is budgeted for the aspect of it. We have to have that in the mind too. You may want to have the release date. Maybe the release date of the publication, for an example, would be April 15th. The material date when it's required, maybe 30 days before that, for the printing purposes and things. So that would be a material date. The bottom line is that you can put practically anything that you want on this card. And especially in the early process of it, because we will break it down farther when we move it to the Kanban board. But the one thing that I always like to leave room for in one of these things over here in the corner maybe is a grade. I think at the end of a process there should be a place that we look for immediately and put whether we did A work or maybe we only gave it a B. Maybe we only gave it a C. That way, we'll start building some recognition of what worked well and what didn't in the later stages. So make sure you give just a little feedback in the process of how well you actually did. The other item that I'd like to mention here is when we go to the user stories, we'll start talking a little more in detail about the things that will go on there and how we break these epic stories down, such as this, and into a much more feature-driven thing of what we need to do so we can get to the Kanban board. But I'd like to leave you with a little thing that Mike Cohn also wrote, is a good guideline for defining the user stories. He uses the word invest, and invest means independent, negotiable, valuable, estimatable, small, and testable. And that's how we'll go ahead and develop our next series on how to actually break an epic story down into a story. Thank you. This is Joe Dager with Business 901.